Okay, itam existico, good day. It is what? Friday, February 1st, 2019. Hard to believe it's already 2019, nonetheless, that we're rolling into the second month. We are also in the tail end of the 4th of 7 lunar cycles here for winter. So more than halfway through the winter. But it sounds like we're going to get a cold shot. Sounds like we're going to get a brutalized this week. Maybe not tomorrow, but at least by the next day the temperatures are going to drop at least 20 degrees. So we're going to have like highs of -20 and lows of, -30. And it's going to be cold. And probably I'm going to have to hole up inside somewhere. But because I've been working outside this week, I'll tell you about that. Anyway, even though it's Friday, I figured I'd get out here and narrate a Thursday weekly update, because I missed doing that yesterday. I have been collecting footage for this video all week, but didn't get it out on Thursday as intended. So here we are, and what is going on in the crazy life of Rye? I think it's been at least a week since I've updated on all the drama that's been going on with me. And over this week, a lot has changed, but it's no less chaotic. I'll tell you about it. Well, first of all, I've been keeping pretty busy. This week has been very different in that respect. I had a neat meeting with the nature center with folks from there, and they threw me a couple of bones, so I've got a good contract from now to April with them, and a little bit of extra work on top of that. So adding that to the contract that I already have at Fort Whoop-Up, I'm going to be able to keep afloat for sure until the snakes and the small mammals start waking up. I did get a little bit of small mammal activity this week. I had a couple of skunks that I moved, and I've got some footage of that. I think I'll save it and tag it on the end of this video. But yeah, they were starting to move around, but now we're going to get this drop into what's the opposite of fiery hell? Icy something. Yeah, wherever the cold miser lives, that's going to be like here for the next week or so. So I'm pretty sure my small mammals are going to go right back to sleep, the ones that were awake, which is a bummer. I need that work, but it's going to come about, and I've got stuff to do between now and then. I've also been working at my friend Tom's place. I asked him if he had any projects or anything I could get involved with, and he did have one idea. There's a kind of a raised planter that he has a line of spruce trees in along the back fence, and it was in some disrepair. It's made of old railroad ties, so he wanted me to fix it up, pretty it up, and clean up some of the other old railroad ties, add those into the mix, stuff that he had around. So I've been working, laboring a lot on that this week. Well, not a lot, but I've been out there, a few days and stuff. And even though I left Ochkotok up there on the cliff edge, the heavy lifting hasn't stopped. By the way, I haven't gone up there to check on him. I have no idea how he's doing, but I assume he's rock solid, That was a dumb joke. Anyway, anyway, yeah, the heavy lifting hasn't stopped. And as I was working at Tom's this week, my mind was very much exploring some of the similarities between the physical work that I was doing and the emotional, mental work that I'm doing in regard to my marriage and the relationships at play there. And a lot of those a lot of the base foundation pieces to that retaining wall at Tom's are heavy. They're really heavy. Like I can only maybe move them a few inches at a time. Others, you know, not so bad. They're regular like railroad tie size, and I can throw them on my shoulder and walk around. I don't seem to have too much problem, but it's all heavy stuff, you know, even if I have to turn it end by end, whatever. It's all heavy stuff. And you know, all the emotional stuff that's going on in my life is pretty heavy too. I don't get any rest or respite from it, really. Not much anyway. And on top of that, you know, in cleaning up some of the old railroad ties and some of the pieces of the old retaining wall, you know, I'm thinking, I'm checking on things. I'm like, what's salvageable? You know, of this old material, what's salvageable? Sometimes I'm prying things apart that have been nailed together. You know, sometimes I'm trying to remove nails, and brackets and, you know, pins and other things, right? And I'm looking for what's salvageable. What can I put into the new structure that's being built? What can be taken away from the old and added to the new? And what's wreckage? You know, what part of the old do I need to let go of? And it's all heavy questions and heavy work. But work that I've been doing. I've also spent some time working at the house. Over the weekend, last Sunday, Mahoney wanted me to come and make some headway cleaning up the old crow room for refurbishing. You know, crows had done some damage to the walls, digging holes and pooping, you know, around the windowsill and on the wall below and such. And so I, you know, did some cleaning, and I actually ripped out the carpet. Was good because I had, you know, some vinyl flooring over it to protect it, but Mahoney wants the carpet out to put the vinyl planks, the life-proof stuff that I've been using in the rest of the upstairs. She wants to be consistent and put that in there too. So I took out some of the flooring. Just spent pretty much a whole day at the house doing maintenance and work. And at the end of the day, Mahoney asked me if I would stay. She basically offered me a deal. She said, you know, she loves me. She doesn't want the marriage to be ended. Would I go do therapy? She's doing therapy. Would I go do therapy? Would I be willing to at least sleep at the house? And so, you know, it pulled on my heartstrings because she's my family. You know, she and Justine and Belle are the most family I have, right? Oh, I got, you know, my parents and my brother are still out there, of course, but I've spent more years with Mahoney and Justine than anybody. And so what's really been hard for me living at Chelsea's throughout the month of January is not having access to my family and my home. And the family including all our dogs and, you know, my magpie Derek. And so she said, you know, you can have access. Just sleep here. Just sleep here. In Belle's room, you know, and do therapy. And so I decided to do it. And I decided to do it for, you know, a couple of reasons. Again, because that access to family and home that I desperately want. You know, I don't think that this, whether the you know, if our marriage, that part of it's not working, I still don't want to lose those people and that place as part of my life. Maybe that's crazy thinking, but that's how I think. I know that some of that can be salvaged regardless. But there's that part. What I think appealed to me most, though, in that offer was the idea of spending some time alone, and exploring myself a little bit. Even though it's just like spending nights alone, you know, that solitude might be smart because there are things I need to try to figure out. For instance, why did I choose to go the route that I did? Is that something that I'm going to carry into a new relationship? You know, what can be salvaged, right? I want to explore that. You know, really I want to try to learn from the situation, and I don't want to make rash decisions, even though, you know, rash decisions have already been made, and that's okay. So yeah, I've taken her up on it, but of course, you know, sleeping alone every night is kind of the pits, and so I'm not planning to keep it up every night, but I am going to spend most of my nights, I think, there and alone, because I do need to do some of the self-work, I think, in an isolated condition, in order to make sure that I move forward in a way that's gonna create the least additional damage in all these relationships. You know, my relationships with Mahoney and Justine and our pets and her family, and, you know, Chelsea and her kids and her family, and all the people that know us. You know, it's a lot of relationships to consider. I also have to consider myself and what I think, you know, where I think I'm going to be happiest, and so all of this comes into play. Meanwhile, I'm camped alone. Tonight, however, I don't think I'll be camped alone. I'm taking Chelsea out. We're going to the Yuck Yucks comedy show that comes through first Friday of every month, and watch the show, and then probably go back to the apartment. And but I'll be back in the house probably tomorrow night. You know, I had my first counseling psychotherapy session middle of the week, and I don't know what to say about whether I think it's going to be helpful or not. I don't know, but I'm willing to give it its shot, and maybe a couple of shots, you know. We'll see how it goes with therapist number one. But then I'm also, of course, I'm an autodidact, so I do a lot of my own thinking, and I've definitely been wrapped up in that, my own kind of analysis of myself, and there's a lot more of that to come, I'm sure. One of the kind of, you know, interesting things that's happened this week has been I've been spending more time with Oscar, who is our crippled crow, and the only crow that I didn't rehome. I don't have regrets over rehoming the other crows, but I'm gonna miss Kira, who was our first crow, and the one who kind of rebounded from the worst accident. She was a real teacher in my life in terms of rescuing birds who've been hit by cars. So Kira's going to be missed, but I know where she's at, and I can go pay a visit to her if I want. Meanwhile, I'm giving attention to Oscar, and it was, I don't know if I had it in the last video or not, but when Mahoney decided that Oscar needed to go with me, it freaked me out because you know, I really am not supposed to have Oscar at the apartment. But it was also, once he was there, it was also a huge comfort to have him there. And right away I started glomming on to Oscar and giving him more attention, And I started taking him with me, you know, to work and do my daily stuff and all of that. So he's having an adventure. He's been able to spend some time outside, you know, see other birds. I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like for him to go from the fairly sterile environment of being inside of a house, to being outside and seeing all the diversity of what's around in our world. You know, for an intelligent bird like a crow, I can tell he's enjoying it. It scares him, but he's enjoying it. So that's pretty much where things are standing with me this week. Like I said, I did earlier, I mentioned I brought Charlie back to the house. As soon as Mahoney had given me access again to the house, I brought Charlie back there, just because I think it's a better move to have the venomous snake at the house rather than in a little apartment with little kids. But my other snakes are still over there, my other reptiles and amphibians in general. Mahoney has the dogs, and Derek, and Alex. I have the reptiles and amphibians, and Oscar. And so I think that's it. That's about all I've got to report for the week, but I will leave you with some video clips from one of my 2 skunk relocations for the week. Yeah, so they said they have 3 skunks here.
Whoa.
So caught one yesterday, catching one this morning, and hopefully we'll get the next one tomorrow and done. Digging different. I didn't cause that. The fence, maybe.
Yeah.
You can see they've been digging different. And then I think they've probably been eating a lot of these. I don't know what these are. It's a skunk. Dig out there. What I did yesterday, which worked well, was kind of come up above to drop the tarp on him before I went over.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, yeah, big guy. Oop, I sprayed the thing. Seen the wet. Guess you got the thing underneath me. Stinky. Yeah, let's see where he caught it. It's fresh.
See it.
Smell it.
Sure gets.
It's pretty stinky. I get used to it. So yeah, when I first came here, there was a bunch of snow on the ground, and I could see that their main entrance was this one, okay? That they were actively using. That's why I got it set up over here instead of on the other side. A little bit of dog kibble. Let's see if we can catch skunk number 3. Yeah, one of my recent battle boxes, I got this new wet bag, you know, so if you're like river rafting or whatever and you want to keep things dry, you put them in this So I thought I would use it for bagging my wet skunk tarps so that I can maybe have my Jeep smell a little bit less skunky this summer going into the new season. It is, skunks are moving around. I have I got some pictures this morning. It snowed a little bit last night, and just crossing the driveway in front of the house there's skunk traps, so they're starting to be on the move again. I expect skunk business to be picking back up, and raccoons too for that matter. It's a raven. Cool, eh?
Yeah. To put the stinky tarp away.
Yeah. Yeah, those big ones, they never come after me when they exit the trap. I don't know why.
It's good.
But the babies start charging and spraying.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. I'm going to have an attempt at having a stink less summer. Not stink free,
No, but less.
stink less. Yeah.
Hey, it's okay. That's good. It's progress.
There we go.